Hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session with Randy, myself, and hopefully Holly. Not notorious for her timekeeping, but we'll pray that she does come along and give Randy some heat. But we're going to be grilling Randy this week the same way that they grilled me last week. But I may need your help, guys. So, whether it's relating to Randy's business, whether it's relating to his sex life, or anything else for that matter, the book is opened to ask whatever you like. So Muzzy is there waiting like that. Muzzy, tell your friends about this as well. And yeah, we could do that. But before we do check out Randy's website. The session or the YouTube channel is sponsored by the news guy, who is Randy. The link is below if you want digital PR and all of the good stuff, brand awareness, links, and all that good stuff that comes with the PR. Then do check out that link below. I'm just looking at Muzzy's questions now. Always professional as always, Mr. Muzzy. But guys, do put your questions in the chat, because if Holly doesn't come, I certainly don't have an hour's worth written down. I can go freestyle on Randy, but I'm not sure that would be fair on you.
I know. Who knows where that'll end up?
I'm more pissed because you were actually quite nice with your questions last week. It's Holly that I really want to give some to. So
we'll get Holly next week.
Yeah, we'll get her next week.
Yeah, we'll rail her. I will tell you this. So, Darren, your question, how do I get the head so shiny? It's a lot of love, baby. It gets rubbed a lot, right? But I had a guy commented on one of my shorts on my channel. Remember, I don't know if you've seen it, maybe in some past videos, I would have my green screen was like coming through or whatever, and so it looked like I had something on my head. And somebody commented on one of my shorts, is like, "Hey, your room's too bright," is why. And so it's light is bouncing off your head to make it transparent. So I'm like, that's a good idea. So now I turn the overhead light off, and then I just keep this direct facing light on. So still shiny, but lighting is important.
It is. Look at the shit lighting I've got in here. It sucks ass.
Yeah, you need a like a forward facing light is what you need.
Dude, I've actually got them. It's just that I can't be asked pulling them out. It's the problem. That's why the reason I'm getting this podcast studio, or not podcast studio, YouTube studio built, is I want to be able just to walk in a room, flick the fucking switch, and sit down and go with a proper camera, proper lighting that's built into the walls and the ceiling, so that, because now I've got those kind of pop-up lights, if you like, and you know, for me now, I'd need to go over there, pull one over from there, and pull one out of the back room there, it's just a pain in the fucking ass. And then you've got to adjust them and all that shit. It's too much, which is why I don't do it anymore. I used to do it a few years back, and then I'm like, do you know what? It's hassle. It's like 10 minutes pulling it all out and getting the lights right, and for what? I'd rather, and I would record a lot more videos when that studio's finished, because I can just literally go in and just crank them out, bang, bang, bang. Like, I'll be back, faster and slicker than Palmer. Palmer's just turning them out, so it's just it's a hassle to record.
That would be nice to have a nice YouTube studio. So lighting critical, obviously. Sound, have a good sound, a good camera.
Soundproof the room and all that. So it's going to be like Nerdy says, fantastic voice for the radio. So yes, but let's roast Randy. Let's roast him. We'll go.
Now, wait a second before you roast me. So Nerdy, he's got the double hashtag. What I'm not sure what that means. Now,
And
I at first I looked at this and I thought maybe Nerdy was doing the. I'll type it on here. Oh, I can't connect on here. I'll do it over on this one. Maybe I connect on here. But my birthday is coming up, right? And I did one of those, don't send me anything, donate to one of my, a charity of designate, and Be the Match. It's a bone marrow donation platform. So, you can go and get tapped, to understand your marrow, your DNA. And so if people have leukemia or something, they need to get a bone marrow transplant, you're essentially in the donor bank. So you might get called up someday. It's a good thing.
yeah, for sure. Hashtag be the match.
Yes.
And the PRs to match. These guys are fucking trying to make a fucking rhyme here.
No, I love them. Good boys. They're all good boys.
It was I'll tell you a funny story quickly. So I was out on the boat at the weekend, and so I was with Slorry's wife, and Slorry's wife's sister. She's into social media. She does social media management. So she used to work for a lot of big brands and stuff like that. So she needs a bit of a helping hand. She started out on her own. She needs a bit of guidance and stuff. So we took her out on Saturday where, she's picking a few different brains, which was all good and well. But she messaged me after that, and I'm like, yeah, come and see me today. But Slorry didn't know she was coming to see me. So we had Slorry, a FaceTime Slorry, and she's sitting next to me. And you want to have seen the abuse I got in the guy's chat. Like, he's in there, he's doing this with her, he's fucking violating the family. So Slorry thought I was violating his sister-in-law, which was quite funny. But when you say these guys, all I seen whilst I'm trying to talk to her about business and how to grow, and get clients and all that, was all this abuse. He's doing this, doing that. He's fucking violating my family. But yeah, boys will be boys. It was funny. But here we go.
That's good stuff.
But I have some questions, Randy. And I'm going to start soft. I'm going to talk about various different business things, and I'm going to throw in a few curveballs like you did with me. So we're going to start off very, very lame, very, very boring, and everything else. Rang Durrani saying, make sure I'm on you with that island. By the way, your questions, or whoever asked that question, led to problems for me. People were like, how the fuck am I not on that island?
That was funny as hell.
Be careful how you answer your questions as well. But we'll go with Darren's question, actually, because it's something along the lines of what I want to ask. Just as an introduction to Randy, we know he does PR, but if you're just watching and you don't, he does PR, but other people do PR as well. So what is the unique selling point of the news guy? What do you do differently? Why should people look to your service? Because you've all got your own little quirks, and I want to know what you think yours are.
Yeah. So it's a good question and fair. This is what I would say. I think in anybody, when you're evaluating PR services, you should keep these things in mind. One, writers, we include writing with our service, and our writers are human writers. I have writers and editors, all human. And I believe that PRs are nuanced, right? So it's difficult. I mean, I'll be honest, I've tried to craft good, readable, enticing content via AI for PRs, and I don't get the results that we're looking for with that. So we have our team of human writers. They write it with your requirements. They send it over to our editors, and they edit it for and SEO optimize it. So if it's local, we want a lot of geo-relevant kind of terms and stuff within the article, as an example. So writing, I think, is critical. Reporting, I think you want to be sure you got some good reporting going on there. We've invested a lot in our reporting format and structure, so you can get a big white label, report, which is great. You get a link, you can pass that on to. You can also download, and this I think is important. You can download the uh, PDF report, and the PDF is white labeled, but the links in the PDF are active links. So then that way you can go and send it down the road to like any of those PDF hosting platforms or publishing platforms, right? And then they'll juice links to all of those things and help from an indexing standpoint. The other piece then as well is, what do you do after the PR? So we spend a lot of time and have created a lot of systems to provide a lot of I'll say a lot of extra love to your press release and to your news site links after they've been published. And I think that's important because you want engagement. You want to get those links crawled and indexed as much as you can. And so we do some back end things to help drive that. So that's what I think. So, when you're looking at, are they human writers? What's the reporting structure like? And what happens after the PR? I think those are all pretty critical.
And I'm going to ask another one because it's just relevant to this topic. If someone is sitting here watching this going, I might try this PR thing, how often, and I know you're going to say as often as you like and, buy them every month or whatever, but realistically for someone who is looking for these PR blasts, how often on average, is people in the industry doing this? Is it once a quarter? Is it once every 6 months? Once every year? I know the more the merrier, but people that are on a budget, how often should we be doing this?
Yeah, I would tell you, and as well, another good question actually to kind of tie in with this is, on my platform, we've got 3 different packages that you can buy, anywhere from, $100 basically, $97, all the way up to like 477, I think it is. So, right. You don't have to always do the big banging premium PR always. We have a strategy. I'd say, like, if it's your very first PR, yeah, I'd probably would do the big one. But subsequent PRs after that, you can like mix and match. You can like go, here's a great strategy that we do for our clients. Like, we'll do the premium, in month 1. Month 2, we'll come back and we'll do a standard PR. So the one for $97, right? So you don't have to do the big and blow a lot of budget dollars on it. But I think what I think, and especially if it's a business, right? So think about it as a business, it's a company. You're going to have something newsworthy, something to talk about in your company at least once a month. And so I think it's reasonable to do a PR once a month. We do stuff for some clients that are agency clients that are doing like 3 or 4 in a month for all of their clients. I'm like, wow. But if you're concerned from a budget standpoint, I think every 2 months is probably, from a budget restraints is good, but I recommend at least once a month. And here's the thing as well, is to keep in mind, and whether it's ours or anybody's, these news sites, you are going to lose these links over time at a certain point. I mean, every news site has their own life cycle for their articles. And so, these things are going to drop eventually. They'll last 6 to 12 months typically. So you want to just keep a good flow of that stuff going on. I think.
So that makes sense. Now, I can't ask you just normal business questions all the time. It would be really unfair for me to do that. So
we didn't treat you that way either. So yeah.
So a fun one, if you can answer it. You clearly have guidelines in what you can get in the press. You know, I can come to you with a certain level of a story, and you can say, yes, that could work. I want you to tell me the most fucking outrageous thing that someone has tried to squeeze in to your thing, what the topic was. I know you probably can't give too much away, but there must have been some seedy shit or something like that in there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, so stuff that I have had to say, hey, I'm sorry, there's no way I can get this published. Definitely, somebody wanted us to publish some stuff on. I think you actually have some experience in this, sex toys. You know, like, hey, we're just releasing a new product in the sex toy industry, and you know, we want to get some you know, visibility on. I'm like, dude, I can't. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to publish that. Yeah, but yeah. So stuff that, like, I'm just, no, it's not anything like sexual, like sex toy, sex industry, any of that stuff is not going to happen. Yeah, but yeah, Craig's got some experience in that stuff.
Just to clear, because you kind of threw me under the bus there, Randy. Like,
a little deflection, right? Yeah, it was good.
I've got experience in the sex toy industry. So just to clarify, Nerdy, how was my experience? I was approached at a conference by someone who wanted me to become an affiliate for sex toys. So I didn't know it was sex toys at the time. They were speaking about commission 40%. The average cost of the product's $300, you know, but it can go up and all that stuff. And I was interested. So this particular female had offered to buy me a drink to engage in this conversation. And I'm like, fuck, you know, no female's ever offered to buy me a fucking drink before. So I'm like, oh, fuck, yes. Took it, you know, we'll talk, you know, 40% commission. I really want to leverage organic and all that stuff. And then she asked me if I wanted a second drink. And I'm like, fuck it, yeah.
Never met a guy from Glasgow to turn down a second drink.
So she gets the second drink in, and she asks if she can send me the product to test out. And I then asked what the product was, and she proceeded to tell me it was a male masturbation kit. And I'm like, absolutely fucking no way. I says, how the hell am I going to explain that to my wife? Like, no, I can't get involved. And the worst thing is, I was standing next to a guy called Stuart Vickers, or SEO Jesus, who was like, send them to me. I'll fucking try them out. So Vickers is actually in that niche, but that is my slight experience of that niche. But I didn't take it, Nerdy, and we just had to clarify that, just to be clear, because you know what SEO people are like. They'll twist it and make me out to be something I'm not. So
yeah, I was wondering how you're gonna like navigate through that with your wife. Even it's like, oh, but you've spoken. Weren't you a speaker at one of those kind of conferences?
It was the you know, a sex or dating and you know, porn event. So I was asked to speak on affiliate marketing and SEO and driving traffic. I wasn't specifically asked to talk about sex toys or whatever. You know, SEO can be applied to whatever niche you want, and I didn't know. Someone just said, "Do you want to speak here?" Blah 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 blah, and I had agreed everything. And this is the other funny part of the story. Graham Grieve had never been to an SEO conference in his life, and that was his first one. And
that's the one you take him to?
That's the one. No, dude, I didn't fucking know. It was in Prague. So when we got there, typically at an SEO conferences, you'll see, Randy, you've sponsored them, so you'll see like PR release or fucking agency assassin or something else, you know, SaaS related. You turn up to the sex one and it's got like live cam girls there. There's just all sorts of hookers and everything. And Graham Grieve looked at me and he went, "What the fuck have you brought me to?" Now, he thinks I was in on it, like this was a stitch up. It genuinely wasn't. I had no clue either. So I don't think he got much in the way of knowledge from the event, but
or at least SEO knowledge. He might have walked away with some other good tidbits to apply at home.
But he certainly got a good laugh. That was the main thing. And that's what it's all about, Lex. Why do I enjoy these talks so much? I think adding some fun stories into the mix. It's boring talking about what each other does. We all do something to make money. But going back to a sensible question for a second. With your service, and I know it's not your only service. We'll talk about what else you've got going on as well, because I've got questions around that. Let's say someone's looking at this and they have no fucking clue what they're doing. You know, we see it in the mastermind and various other things. You know, people are SEOs, but they're not fully experienced in terms of getting a PR. Do you do any kind of consultancy or help with that? Is that part of the service, or how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, people, you could go over down our YouTube channel, Randy the News Guy. In any of those, and actually, I even have a link on our website actually for that. But there's a link you can go and schedule. I do a 15-minute free consult. You know, if you don't know what to do, what's the best strategy, any of that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Get on my calendar. I love doing those things. I don't know why. I never thought about charging them because I love doing it. I love talking to folks about like, hey, you could approach it this way, do this, and da da da. I don't know. I love kind of learning about other people's business in the sense of like, what are they doing and what's their strategy around how to grow? Because inevitably, I always tend to walk away with something that is of value to me as well. And so, but absolutely, they can hook up, jump on my calendar. You know, I say 15 minutes, but which is ridiculous. I don't know that I've ever had one that's 15 minutes, but I do have. People are very self-conscious about it. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, we're really running over, you know, our time slot. I'm like, don't worry about it. We're good.
It's that was going to be something I said. Like sometimes having a conversation with you, it could be quite hard to get off on time. So yeah, but
I do like to talk.
You are a talker, but I think that, you know, it's plausible to go in there and try and help and get something back as well. You know, I do a lot of that as well. Obviously today I had to bounce because I had another call at 4, but typically I'm the same. I don't really lock down times unless I'm on a tight schedule. You know, I had that call at 4 to 3:30, and then obviously I've got this at 5, so I was tight today. But I think it's good that you offer that, and I think valuable that people maybe don't know. So yeah, if you're unsure of what strategy you need to approach or what pages you need to hit, or you know, any of these kind of stupid questions, then Randy does do the consultancy side of things free, if you like. So I don't want everyone piling in going, Randy, I want to talk for 15 minutes. But next question, and I'm going to kind of regurgitate one that was thrown at me last week.
Oh no, I'm not sure. Okay.
It's not what you think it is. And hello, Black Hole Super Sloth. We're grilling Randy, and if anyone does have questions, feel free to ask him, whether it's digital related or not. It's a free for all. So the question that was thrown to me, which allowed me to come up with some stories and give some ideas. What is the thing that you can share with us that you've seen at these SEO conferences that really shouldn't be disclosed? Obviously, not mentioning any names or not repeating any of the situations that we have mutually saw, because I've obviously mentioned mine's last week, but you've been to a whole heap of stuff in the recent years, and I would love to know what you've seen at these events and thought, fuck me. Like you go home and you tell your wife, like, this fucking happened, and she's like, that didn't happen. You know, there's got to be something. Like, I know there was, you know, Nashville, for example, when I think that was the first time we actually met in person. In Nashville, and you were sharing a room with another bloke. So yeah, I'm like, fuck, what goes on out here? We don't do that sort of shit in the UK. Like, if you're going somewhere, you would have your own room. Like, blokes don't share.
I don't even know how I ended up in that situation. I think it was because, well, I should say I did. Well, okay. So now to answer your question. So, and they almost all of these are around this one particular organizing a group that's like, hey, let's do these events. And we did one in what the hell was it? It was in Las Vegas, one of the very first ones that I went to with this group. And I shared, my wife thought it was like, this, are you sure? This seems a little weird to me. But one of the rooms, there were only so many individual private rooms in this like mansion that we were in, and they were all taken. And so I ended up getting a bed in the bunkhouse that were had multiple bunk beds in it, and like 3-tiered bunk beds. And then I'm like, oh, and we all shared a bathroom, but yeah, I was in that room, and there was multiple guys in there, and then these guys, you know, would come in and they'd be talking all different kinds of stories about, you know, meeting people within the group that they hadn't met, and like, hey, we went out, I couldn't believe what they were out asking me if I wanted to go hook up in the bathroom with, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah. stuff stuff like that. I've never done anything like that, just to be clear. All right. But yeah, you know, it tends to be, here's a good mix. You throw in alcohol, people traveling away, and sometimes I swear some of these SEO people are a bunch of horny bastards sometimes, right? And so it's quite a mix.
It's definitely, I think it's SEO people. It always revolves back to that. These guys are, and girls are not wired up the same way as normal human beings. They are by far the worst bunch of people, in a great way, by the way. I mean that in a positive way. But yeah, there's just some shit I've seen. I've been out with lads. I played for football teams when I was younger. Like, I'm well in tune with lads' banter and how things happen. But yeah, the SEOs that fucking step down into the gutter are real fucking.
Oh, they do. They absolutely do. Nothing to match the story you shared last week. And so people, man, you want to get a story, go watch the show last week. Oh my gosh. Dude, I've not seen anybody doing anything with any lady boy. I've never seen anything like that. So,
but dude, even in Austin, you were in Austin as well, right?
Yeah.
I found a pair of fucking panties in the bathroom. Do you remember that? When I came out and I went, fucking hell, someone's panties are in here. I actually forgot all about that one, but someone's fucking panties were in there. Yeah, just some crazy stuff. But SEO video show, Paul,
Brother Dre. All right. That guy. You want to talk about a great show. That is a good video SEO show. Go check that out. SEO video. Paul does a really incredible job on producing that thing. Great guests. Good stuff.
He needs to get me back on, man. Paul, what the fuck's been happening? I've not been on.
Me too, Paul. Yeah, what the hell?
I think he's fucking used us and then forgotten about us. But, nah, a very well produced show, and yeah, he does a lot of research and stuff. It's very, very well done.
It's good. It is very good.
And we finally got to meet him in Vegas last year as well. So,
yeah, he did all of your video and camera stuff for Digital Unfiltered, right?
Yeah,
that was good.
And as I say, nice to put faces to the names, because I've been on the SEO video show a couple of times, and always fun. So
a couple of times. I only got on once, so
once.
I really got bent over with him.
Yeah,
shoot, man.
Need to have a word. Paul, sort yourself out. I need a third appearance. Randy needs a second.
Yeah.
But Lex Gabriz says, "You guys rock. Let's do it. I'll reach out soon." That's how you get onto podcasts.
You embarrass them, bully them publicly. Yeah.
But that actually kind of leads on to the next question. Conferences, promotion, and all of that stuff. So when I initially started speaking to you, I don't think you've done a lot of that stuff at all. You may have been to one or two, but you certainly were not doing it the way that you do it now. So just curious for anyone listening, obviously you've got a service or multiple services, because you've got the news guy and you've got your own agency. Just in case anyone thinks this guy just does news, he doesn't. He does a little bit more than that. But in terms of promotion, getting leads in, networking, I'm curious to know for the audience, what made you start to do that? What was the kind of trigger where you went, fuck, I need to go out and do this. I want to promote or sponsor an event, and obviously the kind of outcomes of that.
So I'll step back a little bit. So, you said, so I have an agency, we have clients, and then we do these other services. And intuitively, Michael, intuitively, I knew, hey, going out and networking and telling people we do these other services is always good. And that's why I wanted to go to conferences. But I will tell you, it was probably about 2 years ago, actually, I think. You were the one who kind of kicked me in the tits and said, hey, you got to kick. I stole your phrase, by the way, to kick you in the tits. That said, hey, you got to do a little more self-branding and get this out, because you'll be more successful by doing that. And then it started making me think about, what would I do? And then that's where I landed on the news guy. And if you recall, I even threw out a bunch of, hey, here's some different kind of branding names I'm kind of kicking around. What do you think of these? And you're like, yeah, the news guy, I like that. And so from that point, then it just started all right, I'm going to go out and start doing more things as the news guy, which has been really positive. We built out the new website, started going to conferences and speaking more at those in that venue, started doing more content online as well. Just building out the brand, the things that you would do to build out the brand. And it's been good. It really is. And I have Chris M. Walker, founder of Legit, is going to be on my show tomorrow morning, hot off the press, little plug. But Chris, here's a great guy who's built out a great brand with Legit. And, he is a firm believer, is listen, you cannot be a business, you cannot be a brand if you're not on YouTube. Because it is so influential and impactful for building a brand. And I think he's right. I was just having this conversation with one of your friends, maybe at least in your neighborhood. Gareth Boyd?
Yeah.
He was just asking over the weekend whether he thinks he should start doing stuff out on YouTube. And Chris and I are like, yeah, dude, you got to step into it. Absolutely. Lean in hard.
I
I
think
think it's pretty important.
Gareth's fairly big on Twitter and stuff, but you don't really see his face around so much, and I think that's the big thing is showing your face on these things, or showing your face at events and stuff. I think is the big thing. And I wasn't even looking for, Craig, it was you that
No. I give you credit all the time. I talk to people. I'm like, listen, Craig was the one who set me straight, and like, you gotta get rolling on this.
No, but what I'm trying to get out of you is, why the fuck would you want to brand yourself as the news guy? Is it because talking about selling up in the future, is it that type of thing where you're building a brand so that it's a sellable asset, or was there something else that kind of provoked, because you had 38 digital market, and again, that's something that could have been sold anyway. So my curiosity for other people is, why, stretch away from the two brands?
Yeah. So, and really kind of two reasons. One is kind of exit plan, right? So I'm just kind of thinking down the road. And it seems to me that, the news guys, I can position that and become a much more valuable sellable entity or asset than kind of my full 38 digital market, which is our agency side. But kind of separating the businesses seemed to be a good way to be able to kind of position them differently. So maybe down the road, I just want to do the PR side of the business, and I don't want to do the agency side. So I could, sell that off. Or maybe I just want to just do the agency side, and, Craig's going to give me a great offer on the news guy. And, I'm like, great, here you go. But it gave me, I think, kind of an exit strategy, or more options possibly for an exit strategy down the road. The other piece is just on a pure branding. 38 Digital Market really doesn't say anything about all of the services or the services that we would do. And so it seemed a little more disconnected. And, like, you hear 38 digital marketing, you don't think, well, what is that exactly? Versus, it's like, oh, those are, you wouldn't, I don't know. As I think about it now, I'm like, well, you don't think about it as being press releases. I forced an association with it, but initially you wouldn't think that, versus the news guy is a little easier to like, well, what is that guy about? You immediately begin to connect. It's, is he doing something with news? What is he doing, right? And so there's a little more connection, I think, with the service that way. So those are the two reasons: exit, and I think associating a brand name with the service is more critical.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I think just gives others something to think about when they're setting up and doing business. You kind of have to figure out what the exit strategy is as well, if there is going to be one, whether that's in 20 years or 5 years or whatever.
Yeah. And I would tell you, I probably, in hindsight, I wish I would have, when like, hey, we're going to get into press releases, that I would have been thinking a little bit more forward at that point, and then just established it as a separate entity would have been much better. But
you don't know what you don't know. That's the thing. We can all look back and kick ourselves hard.
I like what Muzzy says.
More PC than the nude guy. Mike Pierce, good to see you, mate. But the news guy makes you look friendlier, bro. I'd buy.
There you go. I like it. Yeah.
Saying you look friendly. But going back to the promotion, what you're doing, building a brand, and this is one of those funny questions. Comes great, doing all this stuff comes with great exposure, but it also comes with increased risk of abuse, trolling, and all of that good stuff. I'm sure you're a nice guy and you don't get too much of it, but you must have had something, Randy. What is the worst abuse that you've received? I mean, it can't be. It's going to be bald related, I know, but you can't say that. Someone's going to say Kojak or some shit like that. But give us a better one, something that was a bit.
This one, I have to be honest. I really don't get a lot of stuff from folks, which I'm kind of surprised. But I did have though a post. I shared this with my wife. It was over on Twitter. I was just like some generic post of something. I don't even know if it was about press releases. I don't even know what it was about actually. And some guy out of the blue, not even connected with him, I don't know what, he just like jumps on there and is like, "Fuck off, you bald slag." I'm like, what the dude, thanks. I don't know why.
Fucking hell.
That was like the weirdest, most random thing. But yeah, generally, I really haven't gotten a lot of flack from folks. Every once in a while you get, like some rude comments sometimes, but that guy was definitely like just the most random, like, dude. Yeah.
It's I think I made the presumption that you don't get too much of it. You're too nice a guy to be thrown abuse at. Even in here, no one wants to throw you under the bus.
I know, nobody. Yeah, I know. I appreciate it, guys.
But guys, we do have 19 minutes left, and I am expecting better from you guys sitting there watching. Muzzy, a good awkward question for Randy. That it could be wild. They basically asked me last week if I yeah, I'm not even going to say it, but but Black Hole Super Sloth, bald slag, very EastEnders. But a normal question before we come back to that. But yeah, guys, give me help with the awkward ones, or I'm just going to go wild, and my imagination is fucking scary. So we'll ignore or not ignore, but we'll come back to that one in a second, Nerdy. But talking about your Brian Williams as well. All the guys that we need here, they're queuing up, waiting to get you. But talking about the 38 digital market and the news guy, you've obviously got the agency, you've got the news guy. We've heard enough about the news guy. Agency wise, how long has that been going, and what type of services do you offer?
Yeah, good question. So the agency side, we're doing, client service work, right? So, and I mean, I would give you some background on that. So, before I got into digital marketing, I had an education services company. And with that, I started a new, supporting service, which was starting a call center. So we built out a call center to help support the education side, the education services side. And then with that, then I'm like, well, I got to build a website. I got to position this. And because in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I'm going to build out this call center, and I could probably like get other clients, external clients, to come into this thing as well and help even fund it, so it doesn't cost me anything to service the stuff that I'm trying to do. So we built out a website, and I'm like, well, that's when I started. So that was like in 2008. And that's when I got into like, I'm going to build this website. I want to learn this. Right. So I built out a website, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to start, what is this thing, with doing ads? And so I started doing ads, PPC campaigns and such. That's when I first got into it. And then I had some friends kind of like, hey, wow, that's kind of interesting. Can you do some of this stuff for us? And so those were my first kind of SEO clients, so to speak. And then ended up selling that business. And then kind of decided, to continue to work with my friends in the industry. And so really then, and thinking 2015, 16 is when I decided to like go full time with the digital agency then. And yeah, so that was good. But we do all kinds of things that you would think in a typical agency, from a client services, website design, hosting, management, SEO, local SEO, content creation, social media management, PPC, all of that stuff.
Good. Just so that people know a bit more than just the news guy. I think that's important to showcase the people. But Nerdy is asking, what was the first date like with your wife?
Let's see. I could give you the story. I'll tell you the story of how we met. This is like years ago. I was running operations for a big national bookstore here in the States called Borders Books and Music. And we were sponsoring this big book event. It was called, what the heck was it? I'm trying to remember the name of that book. It was a big book festival in Chicago. Uh, Book Fest. My wife's gonna kick me because I'm not remembering it. But she worked for the Chicago Tribune, which was the host, essentially organizer of this big book fest. And they're in Chicago. And so I'm like, well, and I think we'd spent like 50,000 to be a sponsor of this thing. And so I thought, well, I'm going to come over, go into Chicago. I want to go see this thing and see what we're spending our money on. And she was the one who walked me around the festival and talked to me about stuff. And I gave her this line, right? So how about this for an opening line? Like as we were walking along, I'm like, so what books do you have on your nightstand?
That is fucking awful.
That was a good line. Yeah. Yeah. It worked, right?
Clearly it did, but yeah, not having that's a good line. That is, she must have felt bad for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's no doubt she felt sorry for me. Yeah.
Brian Winham, Randy is not good looking enough for our swinger pool parties.
Thank goodness. Craig, you haven't shared any stories about those, so
I am not gonna. I'm not prepared to share stories about that or who was involved or anything like that because I'm a nice guy that way. But it was definitely eye-opening, shall we say.
No kiss and tell. Yeah.
Dude, that was the thing when you asked me for, or Holly, whoever it was, what sort of shit have I seen like when I've been at the conferences? There's a fucking raft of things, but I just don't know who's listening and what stories I'm allowed to tell and what I'm not allowed to tell. I am totally lost now. I don't know who's okay with it, who's not. So yeah, I just stick to a small few and it saves me getting into trouble. So there we go. But Mike is asking, what's the hardest part about running a press release business? When I was selling on Black Hat World, it was getting people to tie news into the freaking releases.
Yeah.
So what sort of struggle? What's the hardest part for you?
Yeah. That stuff. Sometimes we're always having conversations with folks on topic, right? And so I've talked about this in some video stuff that we've done, like how do you create a topic and how do you kind of couch your article so that it is newsworthy, so to speak. And that is always challenging. A lot of times is because you just have to look at it in a different vantage point, right? And sometimes when people come, they just are at a loss and they don't know how to kind of just twist it so that it can become presented so that becomes newsworthy. I think some of the big challenges are always uh, uh, like I have people come from different countries, different or foreign language countries, and they want to like their article to be in the foreign language of their origin, and I get it. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that. It's we don't publish in a foreign language, and sometimes some people get a little owly about that, a little rift, and like I just had one just recently as well. Like the guy just really screamed at me because he wanted all of his anchors to be in his foreign language. And I'm like, that's not going to work because people, the news articles won't publish it that way. And I tried to give him some different options around it, but he was adamant that he needed to have it as it was. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. That's always challenging. Sometimes, and it is with any business, Craig. I'm sure you run across this sometimes too, where you get, clients ask you to do stuff that it's either outside of your scope or you're restricted. You can't do it that way. And you try to explain and people just sometimes are just unreasonable. I try to do everything that I can, but dude, if some stuff is just out of my control, right? Like I can't control Google. I don't control Yahoo News. I'm sorry.
It's like the PR stuff that we do. We obviously do it slightly different, but the similar rules apply where we're doing outreach to journalists, and if there's a trending story, we'll somehow, like, let's say a roof blew off of of a place in Manhattan, for example. Let's say a storm blew off the roof. We may reach out to the journalist and say, top roofing expert for a particular client that we've got has said that that should never have happened. Maintenance is important, blah, 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 blah. So we do that type of thing. But what these people think they're getting is us somehow creating that they're the best business in the world, blah, 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 blah. They don't realize we're shoehorning them into a news story. What the fuck else do you think you're getting? We can't go and say Davies Roofing is the best roofing company in the world and expect the press to pick up on that. It's a link building exercise. So we're saying this is a link building exercise. It's not brand building. It's not anything else. If you want that brand building bullshit, go and pay someone to come up with some cock and bull story that is newsworthy or whatever, and you can have those arguments. But we're literally trying to get you in as many top tier publications as we can. And if roofs are blown off of buildings, when there's storms and you're a roofer, we want to try and somehow shoehorn you into that story. And that is fucking really hard to say to someone who doesn't understand the game. Very frustrating. But next question, Randy.
I was hoping you wouldn't hit that one.
Or one leg up?
I'm trying to think of a good quick quip to deflect this one, but I'm gonna have to go with the one leg up. It's always I always feel strong doing that. I feel like I'm being a rock star.
Jake said to bring it. Yeah, they done it to me. So I think it's a very similar reaction that Randy gave. You're just like, oh shit, what's the easiest one here without creating the biggest mess? Either way, I think everyone's going to imagine Randy in all of those positions just visually. So he's asking, Darren saying, is that you or the missus? LOL.
Hey, I can't. Yeah, I'll let you run with your imagination on that. Yeah, I can't.
Darren Muzzy at least brought some of the heat to Randy. It's always good to see. Little cheeks are quite red there.
I know. I'm like, oh man, I'm sweating. Yeah.
That's a very good question, Darren. So what I'm going to do, we've got like 6 minutes left. I think we should do a quick fire.
The rapid fire.
Crazy questions for Randy. So Darren, bang them in, and anyone else, bang them all in there. And for the last 5 minutes that we've got now, we will ask him the awkward questions for 5 minutes solid, because that's a lot more fun. No one fucking cares about your business, Randy.
I know it. I loved how Holly did it. She had like, okay, we're going to do rapid fire. Here's 18 questions. And then she was just like, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. That was good.
So it's not quite going to be like that, but how would you react to seeing the ladyboy situation? Would you cheer them on?
I probably would, because I'd be caught up in the moment, but I would be like, oh my God, I can't even believe this is happening in front of me. Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to imagine who you would be out with that had done that. I'm like, wow, that was, I won't mention a name. Maybe I'll ask you in private. Like, here's who I think would do it.
Yeah. You have a guess and WhatsApp me, and I'll tell you if you're right or not. It is. I'll give you one clue. It is someone you're at least aware of. Like, you will. It's not. I'm not going to say the person's name and you'll be like, "Who the fuck's that?" It's someone who you will at least be aware of. That's all I'm going to say. But Darren's asked a very lame question. Best link you have?
Best link on news sites. I will tell you, some really good are like Benzinga, Business Insider. Those are some pretty good links, and get those as do follow as well. Pretty strong. Yahoo is always good. As a Yahoo Finance is a great do follow link.
Are you better than Madge? Asks
Yes.
Darren Muzzy.
Yes.
The rivalry is real, but yeah, two great guys, but very much rivals in business. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I knew that one was going to come up. I did have it written down, and then I thought I better not answer it.
I know, right? Yeah,
because it could create.
Yes, and Madge is a good guy, so nothing. We're all good. Yeah, we're all good.
They both think they're the best, and why wouldn't you? You're never going to say the other guy's the best. So yeah, Nerdy, the best bottle of bourbon you've ever drank.
I'll tell you, I just had one just recently that last weekend, not the one 2 days ago, but a week ago, flew out to Wisconsin, celebrated Holly's birthday, right? She had a bunch of people over. People came up, the Witchers came up, and Rayburns came up. She had this bottle of bourbon called, I don't know if you can pick it up on my phone. Horse Soldier. This is the Commander Select. This thing, if you go online and look at this thing, it retails like $1,800 or more, or something like that. I don't even think you can't even get this because it was a commemorative bottle. And this thing was really good. I mean, it's an age 12 year. It was like 96 proof, I think. So it's got a little bit of, it got some good heat to it, but man, that was good. That was really good. But I will tell you, I always tell everybody, if you really want a good bottle of bourbon, maybe to give to somebody or something, always go for the bottle and bonded. Bottle and bond. Always a good bourbon. You can never go wrong with a bottle and bond bourbon.
Quite right. Now, I've got a couple of quick fire questions of my own that I have. First one, what's the most amount of money you've spent on one single domain name?
let's see. I think the newsguy.com. I bought that like 2 years ago. I think I paid 47, almost 4,800 for it.
Nice.
That's the most. Yeah.
That's a fairly sizable purchase.
Yeah.
The next question, still related to domains. Most of us in this industry have this weird obsession with buying domains and never using them. If I was to open up your domain registrar right now, or all of them, roughly how many domains are you sitting on?
I have to be honest with you. I have no idea exactly because similar, right? This is what we do. I probably have somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500, and that's probably even low. That's probably even low compared. I bet you even have more than that.
I used to have. I've got probably about 300 now. I've cut
Yeah,
away a lot of the shit.
yeah.
Um,
And I have to tell you as well, probably, I bet I actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I probably actually have a hell of a lot more than that even. Because I have a bunch of domains that we use for news sites, right? And doing different things with. So I've got a bunch of Google news sites like that. And then I just have a ton of like, like when AI first started coming out, I'm like, oh. And so I went on and I bought a ton of like blank, blank, blank dot AI, right? With that uh, um, extension on it. And then I bought a bunch of other like meta. Dot meta. I bought a bunch of that stuff and I still have it. I'm like, well, I might use that someday. And yeah, I'm probably under 2,000 at least, but
that's a lot,
close.
man. That's
Yeah,
still a lot, dude. That is a
yeah.
lot.
Oh,
And finally, even though we're slightly over time, I want to ask this one. And again, it's a copy from last week, but I think it's a good one. Three people, if you were stuck in a desert island, three people who you explicitly do not want
oh,
to fucking share the island with, and then three people who you would like to spend time with.
oh man. Are these people that people know via
Yeah.
or
So you
oh,
can't take like your old mate from locally. It would have to be someone that you've met in your SEO travels that we have at least a chance of knowing.
oh, wow. Let's see. Who would I want? Let's see. Now not to be soft. Yeah, Muzzy. Well, of course, Darren Muzzy, because that guy, Darren is one you could just cuddle up with. So I think he's nice and cuddly. Um, yeah, I would want somebody who I find really interesting uh, and entertaining. So you gotta like expand it out, right? So what do you need if you're out there on a desert? I have to be honest. I would take you, Craig, because you've got some freaking hilarious stories, and I love your accent and your phrases. So I would always be entertained by you. Um, uh, who else? I would take Palmer with me because Palmer, like, I know, even though I would take Palmer because that guy is, for the same reasons you're like, oh, he would wind me up too much and go. I'm like, man, that guy, I would just want to wind him up, and I would like just watch him, like, good entertainment value.
So
Um,
so that's me, Muzzy, and Palmer on that island.
Yeah, I would go with that. That would be
Right.
fun. Muzzy, yeah, I'll throw Muzzy in there for the fun of it. Yeah.
And who,
Those who I don't want, that's always more difficult. Because I don't want to offend anybody. uh, I mean, I will have to tell you, there are some people who would instantly like, oh, I wouldn't want that guy. And it's more out of, but it's real, like I don't like him. And so I wouldn't but I don't want to say that out loud though, right? So
um,
um uh
Or think of it from this angle, Randy. 3 people who would just getting your nerves after, because Chris Palmer's a great guy. I just think him stuck on a desert island, you would have to throw yourself in the water and kill yourself. So that's the kind of angle I looked at it, rather than I fucking hate that guy.
Let me think about this.
Too loud, too wild. There's fucking loads of characters, man.
Dude, there is Keith Evans. Do you know Keith?
Yeah.
That dude is just a little too off the hook for me. That guy is, I'm like, "No, Keith, I can't do that, man."
Keith is a funny guy. Very funny guy.
Yeah. Let's see, who else? Not on the island, because of various other reasons. Let's see. I would not want Victoria Altman on the island with me either.
And for what reason?
I know, you're looking at me like, "What?" Because she is a little intimidating Russian woman, man. I think she would like
Really?
everything that she does. I'm like, how come I'm not doing that? And I mean, I feel like I gotta amp up and compete with her. Like, she reads more books than I do. She pulls out more stuff than I do. I'm like, oh my God. And she throws it out like I'm gonna be in your face. Yeah.
I could understand that one. I think I can see the intimidating part. I wouldn't like to mess with Victoria, but quiet as well. So I got on very well the time that I've spent with her. So I don't know.
I get along well with her.
But I could see. I can understand the.
She would be the one to okay, we need to hey, we need to go climb these coconut trees to get some coconuts. And she'll be like, "Oh, I'll get you, bitch." And she'll come back with 50. And Craig and I'll be like, "We got 2 between us." I'm like,
that's that. And you've got one more person that.
One more. One more. Who? Dude, one more.
Even if it's someone for the shittiest jokes and banter, there must be someone where you go, "Fuck me."
I know. I am so hard to come up with one more. I can't do it. Seriously, I don't know that I can come up with another one. Shoot. One more.
Just randomly pick one.
I'm going to say, actually, this guy, I think I would have him on the island. So I'm going to say, Darren, you're off the island, buddy, and I don't want you. You're going to be my one that I don't want. for no other reason than I would want the dude that's in our mastermind, Uncle Dave. That guy. That guy is hilarious. I think the stuff that he would be a lot of fun to have on the island, I think. So
yeah, I could get that. Swap out Uncle Dave for Darren. But so we've got our 3 and 3, and Uncle Dave makes the list. So
there we go.
That could be fun. But Uncle Dave has me. But anyway, guys, we are out of time, and that was fun and interesting. But if you do like Randy and you do want to dig more into the service that he provides from the PR perspective, the link is below. He also is on YouTube and does his hot off the press on a Tuesday with amazing guys like Chris Walker and all of that kind of good stuff. So check them out as well tomorrow. And we will be back at the same time next week. And hopefully, if we can get a hold of Holly, we'll be giving her some of the same.
Yeah.
But see you later.
All right, everybody.